Good evening and welcome all my BC Wrestle Pod nerds out there, and welcome to another episode of Lucha, your weekly CMLL Post-Show here at BC Wrestle Pod. Of course, my name is Mikey. I am El Jefe, or the boss man of BC Wrestle Pod. I run the ones and twos every single day of the week, and I do a whole lot of stuff behind the scene because I love professional wrestling all over the world. And I have an eclectic group of individuals who love it as well. But as you can see tonight, it is just me this evening. Well, on screen at least. Of course, as always, I am joined by my digital co-host, Primo, Agent Lo-Fi, who's in the chat. Been rocking with us since day one, pretty much, or at least since we started covering CMLL. So I'm really glad that you're here, Primo. Papa Oso is currently in the midst of what he has dubbed the nightmarish spring class schedule. The spring semester is always killer for him. And for a lot of us teaching folks, it's hell. I'm not gonna lie. But here tonight to break down this past Fridays for CMLL. This is a return to form into some regards, and I definitely have a lot of things to talk about with this show, as well as everything that went down this past weekend too. With a certain mystical and dual contract situation. But I'm going to get into all that because yeah. But if you're new here to BC WrestlePod, or if you've been following us for a long time, this is the intro spiel in under a minute. YouTube, Twitch, and Kick is where you can find all our stuff when we go live. And YouTube also houses our edited videos, which go up the following day. So this will be going up tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you are looking for something a little bit more manageable that doesn't require you to watch hours upon hours of content, then you can pick your favorite social media site and follow us at BC WrestlePod. We're pretty much on every single social media site. And what makes it different than our lives on the streaming platforms is that these social media sites is where you can find our report cards for the weekly shows, previews, sometimes, which is really, really fun. And of course, a bunch of other things that are happening. So this is great. I love it. So shout out to new friend who wrestles at your school. Wrestling is fun. Thank you for popping in. But we also have some merchandise, bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com. And we have a coffee bot because we pay for a lot of streaming services and subscriptions to help give you all the wrestling stuff that we cover here at BC WrestlePod. That is okay. And if you feel obligated to do so, you can click the link in the chat of Twitch and YouTube as it comes up. If not, no worries. Alrighty, now that I've gotten the intro out of the way, let's talk about why we're really here. Let's talk about some CMLL action. And what a fun week. I thought this was a really fun episode personally. I do feel that for me personally, it did take a little bit to get into it. And we're going to talk about it when we get there, especially with our Torneo de Escuelas winners. But just because it took me a little bit does not mean I did not like any of the matches, because I thought I had a fun time with this. But we are definitely leading into something crazy this Friday, which I'm going to get into at the end. So without a further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So we are talking about the Friday, March 13th episode of Blood. And we kick things off with a match. So this is a lightning match. For those of you who do not know, this is a match that is to win. Otherwise, after the 10-minute time limit expires and no one has picked up a pinfall or submission win, then it is a draw. In this iteration, we have Shock and Full Metal taking each other on this match. I'm gonna be honest. It's been a hot minute since I've seen Shock here. Of course, really, really nice to see the out. I was really interested with the choice of mask for Full Metal. He was going with the full black on black, which was pretty cool to see. But yeah, man. I think for me personally, this match did take a little bit. Like it took like 2 or 3 minutes to get into it. But then once they started going, I thought Chakracito and Full Metal really did bring all the fun stuff to this, which was, a lot of fun. And yeah, this was just a really fun local out here flying in all different directions, which I was not expecting. But then again, I probably should have, because it has been a minute since I've seen him on my screen. But regardless, I do think that this match was a lot of fun. It did take, again, like I said, it did take me a couple minutes to get into it, but I thought this was pretty cool. For real, Primo. I always chuckle a bit at first matches being a relampago. First matches are always one fall in under 10 minutes, which is true. I've been noticing that that's the trend. I agree with you, Primo. It's very interesting that this is a match opening up the show, and most of these are under one fall, under 10 minutes, anyways. But hey, we got to get people on the card, so why not? I thought this was fine enough. This was definitely, it did what it needed to. It opened up the show, and it definitely got the crowd going. So as I said before, Shaw eats a full match. And we move on to our next match because now I will say, because normally I was just normally if I see some people like doing some botches, but I want to be straightforward with this. Wasn't inherently bad botches. So it's just like, oh, we had to switch gears, but that's okay. And so, well, let me set this up first, right before I get into all the crazy stuff. So this is a level match. So 2 out of 3 falls. And this, of course, sees the team of Raider Espanto Jr. and taking on the team of Magia Blanca and our 2026 CMLL tournament winners in Tornado and Rave Pegasus or Pegasus, if you will. And so, okay, so I wanted to point this out because I thought it was just me imagining things where I thought Espanto Jr. was like, I don't think he's fully 100% or something happened because I feel like we tweaked something. So this was, I was like, okay, so I'm glad that I wasn't the only one that Espanto Jr. was working with one arm. No, and I have to agree. I think Raider did all the heavy lifting for sure in this match. Now, I'm of two mindsets of this match specifically when it comes to our Torneo de winners, right? So on the one hand, there were a couple of times where we overshot a little bit or we had to change things up because we, as the kids say, we biffed it. And so when it comes to those kinds of things, I'm like, that's unfortunate and that sucks. But on the other hand, it didn't really take me out of this match. Now, Ray Pegasus was a lot of fun in this match for me. No, scratch that. Tornado was a lot of fun in this match for me. I really dug the offense that Tornado gave. But yeah, Primo, I agree with you. And I want to, like I said, these are the Escuela boys. They still got some work to do, but I didn't think they did poorly, but they did okay. They still got to get the rhythm down, not quite there yet. No, yes, let's talk about this too, because both of them have some cool moves, but it's Ray Pegasus, because I'm like trying to remember who it was. But yeah, it is. Ray Pegasus has some really cool moves in this one. And I was oohing and awing through this match when he was hitting these moves. But again, I really think this was a really good match to, continue to get the Escuela boys in the front. Again, still got some stuff to work on, but that's okay. That's what the Torneo de Escuelas is about. You get the boys in front and you do it. Also hard with one of the better bases only having one. Yeah, that's also true. Since Espanto Jr. was only working with one arm, really. But I thought this match was entertaining enough. It definitely was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to see more of Tornado and Ray Pegasus throughout all of this, especially to see what other movesets Ray Pegasus has. But the Technicos pick up the win here. Magia Blanca, Tornado, and Ray Pegasus win. And I thought this was a pretty good match. I am hoping to see Espanto Jr. healed up a little bit more, and hopefully he gets his full strength path fairly soon. Get better, Espanto. We love you. So after this match, we get straight into our Amazonas match. Now, I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but I really enjoyed this match because this match from beginning to very end, they did not let me breathe. They didn't, yeah, this, for me personally, this Amazonas match, they did not let up. When the match started, everybody was go, 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 and it was wild. So this is our level at the, so this is a 4-on-4 in which we have the team of Tessa Blanchard, Yuharu, and La Mag taking on the team of Persephone, Zuxis, Olympia, and again, we talked about this before, Primo, that there's 2 of them now, so it's gonna get annoying when it comes to all the talking, but I digress. But because I feel like in this match in particular, Tessa was going like the adrenaline was not stopping, and she was going crazy fast for a lot of the portion. I do think towards the end of the match, she kind of finally found her rhythm and she was able to kind of work with the girls. But I feel that Tessa was the adrenaline was just getting to her. But but even with that, this was still pretty good. I do love all the girls in this match. I'm excited. Well, we're going to talk more about La Magnifica as we get to the preview part of our show. But it was really nice to see, this group of women in this match. This was fun. Yeah, I agree. This was definitely a fun one. They kept a good pace, and it was just a blast. I think after the first 2 matches, having my nitpicks of it where I thought, they were good, but we could have had go to great or even amazing. I think this match definitely picked it up a notch in terms of energy and the stylistic choices of the wrestling that we saw on the show. So I really enjoyed this one. I really did. No, yeah, me too. I'm becoming a huge fan of Kita And I agree. I like how she hits people very, very hard, which is I'm excited to see more of La Negra, like we talked about last week. This was a really, really fun bout between the two, but it would end up being Tessa, Yuvia, and Lam who do end up winning this match at the very end. But again, really, really fun. And this is gonna be some really good stuff, especially coming up this Friday with some of these women. But fantastic match, and I do have to say, really happy to see Olympia here back in this. Olympia's great, Persephone's great. This was just a fun match all around. So that is all I have to say on that. So after this match, though, we get into our in an evento, as according to the poster. This is the team of Good Honey taking on the team of Flip Gordon. And so I'm not gonna lie, this team of Technicos was a little bit of a random choice, but you know what? Loved it. It was great, and I'm not mad at it. And of course, I love Barbaro Cavernario. I love Gran Guerrero. And of course, I'm biased. We all love Utani in this match. I will say, I do feel that maybe the energy was not matching correctly, but I was just like, I don't know what's going on in this, but let's get into but let's see how this goes. I think during the first fall, we were kind of just, figuring some things out. But I think as we went through, I was like, okay, this is a really good match. This, I think, is going back, harkening back to like what we love about, trios matches in CMLL. So it felt like a good old fashioned trios match. And this was a really good one. I do love all the talent here. And Primo, you seem to agree. I agree with you in the sense that this does feel like a good old fashioned trios match. And I feel like because we've kind of, I don't want to say gotten away from it, but because we have had so much happening in the last month or two in CMLL, that it's just nice to go back to basics when it comes to trios matches. And this was really, really fun. The random I'll have better Okay, yes, I wholeheartedly agree because I'm like, Bob Gran Guerrero and Utani definitely are an interesting choice of people to put together. But I do think that their styles worked very well, and they worked like a good Rudo unit, stomping on the technicals, distracting, stopping things from happening. It was fantastic. Now, of course, the Technicals would end up winning this match, but you know what? I was not disappointed in this one. This was a really fun match, and I had a blast with. This was good, and I really enjoyed it. And again, it's some of my faves in this match, so I can't really complain. So after this one, we get into our semi-main event. So this, of course, is a Relevo Australianos 2 out of 3 falls match, and this it has Atlantis Jr taking on the team of Volador Jr. and Vegas. So I was like, ooh, Vegas is in this match. All right. Let's see what happens. I will say this every single time they are on my screen, but whether they are against each other or whether they are together, I love Titan and Templario. They are some of my favorites here in CMLL, and especially Titan. I have gone on record saying that he's one of my favorites, which I'm never gonna apologize for. And I love Templario too. Though Templario, I do have some questions about this outfit choice that we had, because unless I was missing something, he comes out with a baseball cap backwards. I was just like, now hold the flip. I was like, what is happening here? I didn't hate it, but it was definitely something for me to get used to. And yes, I was here for Volador Jr. bringing back the Spider-Man half and half, shirt that he comes out in, and the mask too, a Spider-Man and Venom. I'm a superhero nerd, so I can like that stuff, and it's really, really fun to see. I was about to say, so now when I saw this match and when we previewed it on Friday, Primo, I was like, wasn't Soberano Jr. on supposed to be in this match? And I was wondering what happened. My mind went to, oh my gosh, I hope he's not hurt again. But let's see. Soberano got in a little bit of trouble with the bosses. He showed up later than he was supposed to. CMLL has become strict on those kinds of things in the past few years. So damn, no, you showed up late. Damn. The funny thing is though, and Primo, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but with Soberano Jr., that kind of goes with his character, so to speak. But damn, man, I was hopefully Soberano was back in action the next day. Him and the bosses always butt heads. A water is wet kind of situation. And again, I don't read too much into it, but Soberano Jr. and the way that he carries himself kind of reminds me. Now, I want to preface by saying this. I think Soberano Jr. is not, he's confident, but not cocky. I think he knows he's hot shit and he will, butt heads about it. But to me, he doesn't come off as like an arrogant type of wrestler. But I also think CMLL knows that, yeah, this kid's a pain in the butt. But honestly, he is super talented and he's good at what he does. So we still got to, there are still consequences for choices and actions made. But yeah, Soberano Jr. I think is confident but not cocky. But anyways, on to this match. I thought this was a pretty fun match. And now that I know the context as to why Soberano Jr. was not in this match, and this is no hate to Vegas, but Vegas to me was kind of like, I don't even want to say the weakest link, but he kind of stuck out a little bit. And I was just like, I forgot he was in this match from time to time because I was like, oh, there goes everyone. Oh, shoot, Vegas, I forgot you were here. Oops. I will say, though, as the match went on, though, I was getting more into Vegas and I was like, oh, we're doing good. But yeah, I thought the offense between the Technicos and the Rudos was really, really fun. And this ended up being a really good match, too. This was a blast to watch. Vegas actually looked pretty good in this for being a late sub. You know what? I think I'll give a little grace here. I think, you know what? I think because he was set up late, he probably didn't get really too much time to do the proper protocol, do the proper preparing, whether it be move sets or mentality. But you know what? You got to be a part of the semi-main event. And yeah, this was a good blast. And again, going back to basics with the trios matches in CMLL, and this was a fun one for sure. The Technicos would pick up the victory here. So Atlantis Jr., Titan, and Templario would end up being the winners here. And before we get into our main event, this is the quote unquote last call before we get into the main event and end the show with a previewing this episode for this upcoming Friday. So again, if you want to follow us on the social medias or check out our merch store, you can check out the links in the chat across all the places we are currently streaming at. So I had just posted those now. So last call to go check out the social medias and follow us there if you choose to do so, and to also peruse our merch and even save it underneath your favorites to come back to it a little bit later. Alrighty, let's get into this main event because I have a lot to say. Well, not necessarily about the match itself because it went about the way that I thought it was going to, but there was a lot of new stuff that has come out within the last 48 hours, 72 hours that I do want to talk about here for all of us here. Thank you for the hearts. Now, if that's for us or for this match or for whatever else, Primo, we appreciate the love because we loves you too. So this is for the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship. This is Claudio Castagnoli versus, our favorite, so, bad person, Guerrero. Now, this was the most telenovela-esque entrance ever because Ultimo Guerrero makes the entrance, and then Claudio in his Death Rider's mask comes in and beats up Ultimo as they tumble down the stairs. And then they get into the ring and the actual match starts. Again, I kind of figured this was the way that the match ended up going. I wasn't surprised by it. And maybe this is just me, but I was a little surprised of how much uneven offense Claudio was having with Ultimo. I think Claudio was definitely in control with the chunk of the match, but it definitely played a balance to Ultimo Guerrero, who I think was doing a really good job leaning into being more technical here. And people love Ultimo, and we love Ultimo too. And then Primo UG Ultimo Guerrero being able to play super technical was an absolute treat to watch. Agreed. Dude can command the crowd so good. And I 100% agree with you. Now, at parts of this match, they would pan over to commentary, and I was like, oh, cool. It's our commentary, Tammy. Wait a minute. Echiseto, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I smell a plot. Yeah, you can tell these two. Oh my God, absolutely. And I think this is why I really love this match too. Claudio and Ultimo definitely love to wrestle in general, but you could tell how much they enjoyed and loved wrestling with each other because, and this is no shade to the other wrestlers because I love AEW and I covered them, but Claudio's intensity and his style of wrestling, not many people can kind of give it to him and kind of keep up with him. And not to say that Claudio doesn't enjoy the matches he has, but in this match in particular, I saw that Ultimo and Claudio really getting into it and really loving wrestling each other in this match. This was such a fun match. Now, of course, Claudio does end up winning and retaining the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship. And so the ending is happening. Streamers are coming out. I was like, okay, cool. Like, this was a fun show. This match was a lot of fun. Then Claudio gets on the mic and he does speak a little bit of Spanish. I was like, ooh, Claudio Castagnoli, that Rosetta Stone is working out for you, my friend. But Claudio gets on the microphone. He talks about how he's going to be champion forever. And then Echiseto gets into it and, lays down the challenge to challenge Claudio for the World Heavyweight Championship at, this Friday. And Claudio accepts. So we got another championship bout this upcoming Friday between Claudio and Edge. I am very interested to see what happens and how things go this Friday. So let's just get into this, shall we? Let's preview what's coming up this Friday. So, as you can tell from the poster, we have a pretty stacked card coming up, right? And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, damn, we gonna have some good stuff happening for us this weekend, right? Or this Friday and shit. Ooh, excuse me. It has been a long day, but I am here to give you my all right. So let's get into it, shall we? So of course, this Friday is the so this is gonna be a really stacked tone. Oh, I did in fact see, and I'm gonna talk about that too at the end. So, starting things, we have a Relevos. So the Amazonas are going to be kicking things off. And we have the team of these Dark Silhouette and Pia taking on the team of Persephone, Catalina. And my girl, Reina Eastis. It's been a hot minute, Reina. I'm happy to see you back, girl. So that should be a fun one. Then in a thorn, you have Los Son, the team of and so I'm like, all right, let's see how that goes. Then, so this is the final match, the retirement match for Santani. It is El Santani, Atlantis, and Blue Panther. I'm like, yes. Oh, that's right. Okay, thank you for reminding me because I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure Primo had said something about this before. So yeah, it's two versions of so that should be interesting. Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense now. Got it. So again, the retirement match for El San Atlantis and Blue Panther, and I'm just like, listen, Blue Panther is here. I'm all in. Like immediately 10 out of 10 stars. We love it. Then in a very fun and interesting match. So somebody's losing their hair, y'all, and it's gonna get crazy. So Marcela La Magnifica. And so that should be very interesting to see how that one turns out. And Primo, you mentioned this last week, or yeah, 2 weeks ago, with La winning the Copa Gonzalez. It does not spell good for her because she might be losing this hair and this is going to be crazy. Then we are getting the Inferno 7. Somebody is either going to lose their mask or the hair in this match. So you have Calavera Jr. Uno, Max Star, Hombre Bala Jr., Calavera Jr. in this match. So I'm excited. This is going to be an interesting one. Then we end the night with two championship matches. First, in the semi-main event, we had the CMLL Trios Championships on the line. So we have Sky Team, which is the team of Místico, Máscara Dorada, and Neon. So, of course, the champions, defending the titles against W's Death Riders, which, of course, is Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, and John Moxley. I'm surprised that we are having Moxley here in Arena Mexico. I think this is going to be fun for sure. And then, of course, in the picture, you have Marina Shafir in the background, who's probably going to be playing. This will be the first time a championship match was headlined. And really? Okay, that's even cooler. So again, the Trios Championships is on the line in the semi-main event. But then in the main event, again, for the World Heavyweight Champion, the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship is Claudio Castagnoli versus Edge. So this is going to be good. I think Claudio is going to win. And I think that has to do in part with what news that you were speaking of earlier, Primo, with Claudio Castagnoli being signed to CMLL in a dual contract, which is really cool to see. But I also want to talk about another person too. And Primo, you probably already know this because of the Lucha stuff. With you being our Lucha Libre, we also have another person who is signed underneath to a dual contract, but in the opposite direction. As this Sunday, it was announced that, is now signed is hashtag all elite. So is signed to AEW and probably the same dual contract situation that Persephone and Mascara are part of. Well, at least how do I know that Mystico is signed? Well, I mean, the wrestling internet will tell you a lot of things, but I was in the building for AEW Revolution. So I was there live for the pay-per-view this Sunday. It was a blast. I had a good time. I got to see some really cool stuff. Bandito and Andrade was so good. Probably one of my favorite matches of the night. But Místico is a double trios championship because at Revolution, Místico won the AEW Trios Championships with Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. And honestly, this was really, really good. And so, yeah, Místico is part of a dual contract and so Místico will now get to appear on AEW television a lot more. So that's fun. Ooh, so fair trade, in my opinion, and the low-key good thing of Místico most likely having to work less. Probably won't hit that 200 plus matches a year. That's good. Yes, we love the grind that Mystico is on, but I think hopefully this dual contract will allow him to breathe a little easier and also be able to preserve yourself because the more you work, the more you have a chance to get injured a lot more. And we don't want that for Mystico because we love him. But yeah, I was really proud of Mystico, and you can definitely tell that he took in the moment because he didn't see the graphic like the rest of us did as Speedball and Kevin Knight were like walking him around on their shoulders to the crowd in the ring, shouting and everything. And then as soon as they turned around, when he saw the graphic, immediately dropped to the floor, started crying, and it was beautiful to watch. I love when hardworking people get their due reward, and especially when it happens to my own peoples like myself. But yeah, so that is going to be it for us this evening. Primo, as always, thank you so much for being my co-host for this one. Next Wednesday, unless something happens, me and Papa Oso will be back to, talk. We still got a pretty fun lineup this week. Tomorrow night, I will be leading the Mystery Wrestling crew as we will be going through Mystery Wrestling 22, where lots of things happen. We had an actual food fight match, and we have a new Mystery Wrestling champion. So we're going to talk about all that tomorrow evening. And then we are capping off the week this Friday with our TNA post show. And the next week is just as jam packed. Monday, we are talking about the New Japan Cup finals and what this means for Sakura Genesis. We have AEW on Tuesday, NXT and CMLL on Wednesday, and then TNA on Friday. So we got lots of fun stuff happening. But from all of us here at BC WrestlePod to you at home, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you tomorrow for Mystery Wrestling 22. But until then, and until next time, peace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.